From the choreographer of the critically acclaimed Frankenstein, the Joffrey Ballet presents the U.S. premiere of Liam Scarlett's Carmen, a breathtaking ballet filled with desire, passion, and betrayal. This adaptation of the famous opera pulsates with life and reveals the timeless tale of a woman who dares to live on her own terms. See the Joffrey Ballet's Carmen now through September 28th at Lyric Opera House. Tickets available at joffrey.org. There's still time to take advantage of Window Nation's most popular offer. When you buy 2 windows this month, you're going to get 2 for free. You don't want to wait when it comes to replacing old drafty windows if you can. Plus, Window Nation installation crews finish the job in a day or less so you can get back to your daily life with little interruption. And you know that your home is protected from fall and winter weather. This sale ends September 30th, so schedule a fast free estimate now with the pros at Window Nation. Call 866-90-NATION or head to windownation.com. Today on CityCast Chicago, local leaders are calling for a full investigation after an ICE officer fatally shot a man in the suburbs. A Chicago high school choir is making waves on national television, and Chicago Hinge is coming up. We're breaking it all down. It's Tuesday, September 16th. I'm Jacoby Cochran, and this is what Chicago's talking about. I'm joined by executive producer Simone Alicea, and at the time we are recording this, we're about 6 minutes before noon, so I can still say, good morning, my friend. How you feeling? How was your weekend?
Good morning, Jacoby. I'm okay. My weekend was all right. Didn't do much. I was thinking of you, though, with that Bears loss on Sunday. I saw a headline that said something to the effect of Bears give up 52 points.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, my boy's got to be feeling it.
Right. You know, it's funny because after you text me, something like, what was it? Damn, 52. I was talking with Darius. We was actually playing in fantasy this weekend while suffering through the Bears beatdown to the Detroit Lions. 52-21 was the final score. But you texted me, and I literally told Darius, I was like, bro, they was losing so bad. Simone texted me on the weekend, and she never does that unless it's breaking news. And so for you to just send like a 2-word, just like 52. And all I could say back was, yeah, 52. And they were not interested in letting up at any point during the game. And so that was a tough one.
How's that undying optimism going for you?
Oh, bro, I can't even hold you. It was over after the Monday night game. Yeah, that was tough. That was tough. Luckily, it was softened because Monday kind of ripped away any hope I had. So this past Sunday wasn't too bad. But speaking of Sunday, thousands of people lined 26th Street as the Mexican Independence Day parade carried on in Little Village. There were people out there dancing, people riding horses. You had classic cars. Floats were out there, community members and partners. For all practical purposes, it was a beautiful scene like we see every single year around Mexican Independence Day. However, with Operation Midway Blitz underway, the Trump administration, the Department of Homeland Security, quadrupling down on their anti-immigrant raids across the city of Chicago and Illinois at large. That fear largely hung over celebrations this weekend, but the mood was even more sobering. People were marching in remembrance of Silverio Villegas Gonzalez, who just a couple days earlier was shot and killed by ICE agents in Franklin Park, which is directly south of O'Hare, right outside of Chicago. Simone, let's kind of talk through this. I was stunned when this news broke on Friday.
Yeah, this happened Friday morning, sort of Friday midday, roundabouts. Silverio had just dropped his kids off at school and had been driving when he was stopped by Immigration and Customs Enforcement. Initially, ICE and the Department of Homeland Security said that they stopped him, and then he tried to drive off. And their initial reporting was that he had dragged an ICE officer while driving. And then the remaining agents, at least one of the remaining agents, opened fire shooting and killing him. He was pronounced dead at the hospital, and the officer who was dragged suffered some injuries and then was later released either that day or the day after. It was alarming for a couple reasons. I think the biggest thing is, as you said, we have been in the midst of just of Operation Midway Blitz, and this is sort of repeated attacks by the Trump administration on Chicago. We've been seeing protests. We've been seeing protests at the Suburban Broadview ICE facility, and tensions rising there. You mentioned the parade on 26th Street, which, yes, a lot of people attended. There were still a lot of people in the streets. However, we didn't see a lot of big car caravans downtown that we would normally see over this weekend. And there has generally been a sense that those Mexican Independence Day celebrations were kind of more muted, more subdued than they have been in previous years, in response to fear about immigration enforcement. Since that happened, there haven't been a ton of new details in the shooting that have been released. There have been a few surveillance videos from nearby businesses. And in those videos that have been released, you can see the officers stop the car.
They block off Silverio from pulling off in what looks like an unmarked Jeep, just like a regular Jeep. And the two hop out, like getting out of their vehicle and getting to the car where they're trying to kind of forcibly make their way into Silverio's vehicle.
One officer on the passenger side of the window, interacting with Villegas Gonzalez, trying to get in and make the arrest. And then you can see the car drive off. What you can't see is there was another officer who went to the driver's side, but we don't see that officer. Homeland Security is saying that's the officer who was pulled and dragged, but none of the video that has been produced, you can't actually kind of see what happened to that officer. And so, local leaders, Governor J.B. Pritzker, our various representatives, congressional and otherwise, have been calling for the release of, any other footage that may be available, any other body cam footage, any other dash cam footage that may or may not be available, and sort of calling for a full investigation into this. After the shooting, you saw, and there were eyewitness reports, witnesses who were sort of saying that there was, people descended kind of in the area, in addition to the ICE agents in question. Obviously, you had other Homeland Security agents. People reported seeing, people in FBI vests. The quote was sort of like, I know this is a big deal because you only see that in the movies, is what one person told CBS. I think really, right, there was already so much anxiety and fear, and there's already been so much happening when it comes to the response to these raids in Chicago. And this just is another sort of layer of tragedy on top of that.
The Supreme Court has said that you can racially profile individuals based on how they look and the language they speak as ICE agents. And when you watch the surveillance that is available and you hear from lawmakers who were quickly on the scene, there is no sense of if there was a warrant that gave them jurisdiction to pull over, to blockade, and to stop. They focus so much on this agent fearing for their life, but don't talk about how Villegas Gonzalez probably in that moment feared for his life. I watched an interview with the individual he worked with at Tom and Jerry's Euros in like nearby Portage Park, who says, this man showed up every single day, worked 11 hours, was on time every single day. And this is who you want to call a criminal, right? They tried to paint him as some reckless driver, but every other news outlets have looked into those claims and have not found this, have found speeding tickets from years ago. And so this idea that, they're going after the big and the bad, the worst of the worst, they're going after a father who had just dropped off his 2 kids and, within moments, was sort of stopped, flanked on both sides, somebody trying to make their way into his car. I don't know if a warrant was presented or not. And, for the action to be to shoot him twice and to take his life, like this is the kind of violence that the Trump administration has emboldened in these operations. And it's the reason the city of Chicago has pushed back so vehemently from the very beginning, because people's lives are at risk here. And it's not just of paranoia and deportation, but these agents have the jurisdiction to shoot and kill you if they feel their life is threatened.
Jacoby, you refer there to a recent Supreme Court decision that overturned a federal judge's order in California, right, that had prohibited federal agents in LA from, you couldn't just stop and question people based on their race, right? Based on or speaking Spanish or whatever the case may be. Now, that case is not fully sort of worked out in court. It's not kind of the final say, but it is extremely alarming, right? Yeah. That they basically have sort of given a pass to federal agents to stop you, to question you based off of nothing, based off of an entirely racist pretext. Also on Friday, I saw that the city had dropped its new Mayor Brandon Johnson had signed this executive order. I think the Protecting Chicago Initiative or is maybe what it's called. And the city dropped a website late last week as well, chicago.gov/protect. And it's interesting because it's essentially a list of links for, how federal enforcement might affect anyone. And there's obviously a big focus on immigrants. There's a lot of know your rights stuff, regardless of what your immigration status is, support hotlines. But, it also addresses this fear that had been more prevalent in the last week of the National Guard potentially coming into Chicago. Now, we know last week that the president kind of backed off that threat and is now planning to send troops to Memphis. I did think it was interesting. They basically said Chicago is too hostile for us to do this to. You're too organized. Your mayor and your governor don't want it. And we're going to go somewhere where we're wanted. That doesn't mean that Chicago is totally off the hook here in terms of being in the target of the Trump administration. But it is sort of the first, I think, concrete motion of, okay, we're backing down from this for now, even though the immigration enforcement is ongoing.
In that moment, I was thinking about our conversation with Diego a few weeks ago and how he talked about how leaders in the Department of Homeland Security, people like Tom Homan, have consistently remarked on how difficult it is to come out of Chicago. Like rhetorically, you can put us in your crosshairs, but they've made it clear the Know Your Rights campaigns make it very difficult for them to coordinate in this city.
I want to point to some reporting by our colleagues at WBZ. They've put together a really good package that includes not just resources, right? Some of the hotlines we've mentioned before, but they have some really, really good data about ICE arrests, because one thing we know is that ICE is no longer publishing, arrests, in a public way on a data dashboard or anything like that. They've got some really good information about how much immigration arrests and detentions have increased in Chicago and Illinois since Trump took office. They've also got a really great package about where arrests happen and where ICE kind of activity is, right? There are sort of three main offices where that ICE works out of here in Chicago, in addition to that Broadview facility I mentioned. So if you want to get a better sense of kind of how they operate, I highly recommend checking out that reporting. We're going to link to that in the show notes. I think that kind of knowledge is just understanding more and more about how these operations actually occur can only help you, as you make sense of this for yourself, but also as you seek to kind of to help your neighbors and kind of get involved, whatever level that may be.
Look, you know it. I know it. I say it all the time. Chicago is one of the most beautiful cities in the world. And a major reason why is because we got some of the most amazing architecture on the planet. And if you've ever seen one of our many magnificent buildings and thought, I wonder what the story behind that is, or even I wonder what it's like inside, then I got the perfect event for you. Open House Chicago from the Chicago Architecture Center is back, y'all. October 18th and 19th is one of the city's largest free festivals, giving you behind the scenes access to more than 200 sites across dozens of neighborhoods. I'm talking iconic skyscrapers, sacred spaces, historic buildings, artist hangouts, these steel, limestone, concrete, glass masterpieces, some places that are usually closed to the public. You can finally step inside a building you've always passed or see the city from a whole new angle and a part of town you ain't never been to. And the best part, no tickets required. You can just pull up and start exploring. Visit openhousechicago.org to see the full site list. Plus they got maps so you can plan your whole weekend. Mark your calendar, October 18th and 19th, and experience Chicago like never before at openhousechicago.org. If you're looking for a new career, I want you to pause for a second. What exactly are you looking for? Maybe it's something that's flexible, that works on your time, something where you can use those people skills, your creativity to work with and connect others. You know, something where you can make an impact. If the answer is yes, then maybe you should consider real estate. Realtors not only help people buy and sell homes, but navigate Chicago's rental market. They help people find the next great location to realize the small business dreams, which means you can help people find stability, put down roots, grow something in their neighborhoods. Plus, you get to set your own schedule, choose who you work with, explore different parts of the city. So if real estate is for you, here's how to get started. Visit realtorsrealestateschool.com today to schedule your free career consultation. That's realtorsrealestateschool.com. Last weekend, I was out on 79th Street for the Renaissance Festival. Got to see Shaka Khan live and in person. I'm finally finished editing some of those pictures, so I might have to release those very, very soon. On my way to the festival, I passed by Leo High School, which is right there off of 79th and Sangamon. And I saw some posters on the fence, you know, congratulations to the Leo High School choir, which Simone, in the background this entire summer, they've been having a national run that today could be getting a whole lot sweeter. What's going on with the Leo High School choir?
Yeah, the Leo High School Boys Choir has been on America's Got Talent pretty much all summer.
Since like early June.
Since early June. This is a story I've sort of seen the headlines about, and you know, I got to be honest, I don't watch America's Got Talent, but tonight they are going to be appearing in the semifinals after the audience voted them to move forward. And so, you know, it's been just such a great story for the high school. The choir director, LaDonna Hill, you know, she's retiring. Like, this is sort of her retirement send-off.
Her swan song.
Yeah. And the other cool thing about it's just such a great story. That's a Catholic school on the South Side. And this choir, it's an all boys choir, requires no auditions. So if you want to join, you get in, and she is out here teaching them. And you know, the performances have been really amazing.
Singing from heartache, from the pain, taking my message from the veins, speaking my lesson from the brain, seeing the beauty through the...
They had an appearance on the local CBS station on CBS 2 last year that kind of got a lot of attention, and it was so cute. It was wild because I was watching this video of them sort of in a classroom, you know, they're singing and they sound great, and they're kind of just doing that little like choir shuffle, you know, and then you see them on the America's Got Talent stage doing like full choreography, and like the harmonies are wild, and they're so energetic.
No, they was up there doing backflips. The solos is crazy. Yeah.
They're so energetic and so fun to watch. And if they, you know, I think this is the moment, like if they can really make it to the finals, like I think that's going to be, I think it's just amazing for the city. It's amazing for the school, amazing for the neighborhood. Like it's just good. I don't know. You like to see, we like 100%. To see our people succeed. You know what I mean? Like that's what we want. That's all. Best of luck to the Leo High School Boys Choir. I hope it'll be great.
Hey, shout out to the Lions. They have gotten to perform at Wrigley, Soldier Field. They performed at Pope Leo's Chicago celebration back at Sox Park in June as well. So hopefully that little blessing carries them forward. I think the coolest part for them is to get all of these trips back and forth to California, like to pull up to Pasadena. The choir directors and the adults that's with them are like, hey, this is work, right? And we going here to get the job done. But the idea, I couldn't imagine being 15, 16, 17, hanging with some of my best friends, just getting to go to California to perform.
Well, and getting to perform on a big stage like that.
Yeah, to perform on national TV. Like
that crowd is wild too. And you got the judges right there.
Mm-hmm. Nah, it's gonna be a group of them that still come together 20 years from now to like celebrate this and talk cash shit. Let's be real. y'all remember when we was on America's Got Talent? Yeah, so I love that for them. September is Childhood Cancer Awareness Month, and kidney cancer is one of the most common types of childhood cancer. The Kidney Cancer Association is committed to creating awareness and raising funds for research to find a cure through Chalk Your Walk. Basically, you chalk some art on the pavement, maybe in your driveway or on the sidewalk outside your apartment. Include chalkyourwalk.org on your drawing, then post photos of your art on social media and tag Kidney Cancer Association. Seriously, you can draw anything, something that brings you joy or an encouraging message, and just tag Kidney Cancer Association. Learn more or donate directly at chalkyourwalk.org. Simone, I'm preparing myself this week. I feel like Chicago Hinge is like a benchmark for me as a Chicago photographer because it's something that is very clearly related to photography. And it's because it's annual, I get to just like see how much better are my shots this year than they were last year. So that's the thing I am most looking forward to as it relates to Chicago Hinge. But this also got us talking about something else in the city.
Yeah, so Chicago Hinge, just as a reminder, it is during the fall equinox, also the spring equinox, when the sun will perfectly align with our east-west streets. And so, as Jacoby says, it's funny that you say it's like so clearly a photography thing. Well, it's a light thing. And if you like light, then photography is probably on your list of hobbies. It takes place primarily like the 22nd through the 25th, top of next week. And during that time, I suspect you will see a lot of downtown skyscrapers on your feed. And we recently put together an article about some of Chicago's tallest buildings. And so we thought it would be fun if right here on the fly, I give Jacoby a little bit of a Chicago skyscraper quiz. I have our article in front of me. You ready for this?
100%.
All right. The first question is about our tallest building, the Sears Tower, the Willis Tower. I want you to tell me for how long did the Sears Tower hold the record for world's tallest building? For how long? How many years?
Ooh, that's a good one. So it opened in the late 70s. I'm going to give it at least 22 years.
24 years. So you're really close. So the next tallest building in Chicago is the Trump International Hotel and Tower. Actually, originally, so it's a 1,388 feet. It was originally planned to be even taller, but the design was scaled back after 9/11. Can you tell me, Jacoby, why a judge ruled the Trump Tower was a, quote, public nuisance last year?
Something to do with was it their way their water filtration systems worked? Or was it, I feel like it has something to do with the way the building was impacting the river and the way they were maybe taking in water or dumping water. One of those two. Maybe was it cooling systems? And it was, something to do with the river and its impact on the river.
Yeah, you're there. I think I'm going to give it to you. Yeah, it was the Trump Tower was found to be in violation of the Illinois Environmental Protection Act because the building didn't have the proper permits to pull in water or discharge it. There were no studies to figure out how to minimize impact on wildlife. This had been ongoing for several years. So that this ruling came down last year. Just this year, the Illinois Attorney General announced a $4.8 million settlement with the hotel and tower related to those violations around the cooling system. So yeah, you had it. You had all the elements
something about
there.
improper water use.
Yeah. All right. This is going to be an easy one, which is our next tallest building. It's 1,191 feet. It's also the tallest structure designed.
I already know where you're going.
Tallest structure in the world, designed by a woman.
Yeah, I knew that.
Yes.
That's the easy giveaway. That you could have. I
know.
You could have gone with like it has like those pass-through windows or something. But that's the residencies at the St. Regis, so the St. Regis Chicago.
Can you tell me who the architect is?
Gina Gang.
It is Gina Gang. Yes.
Yeah.
This is one of the city's newer skyscrapers, but I love this building so much. It is.
Oh, me too.
The pass-through windows are a good one. I didn't have it in front of me, so I didn't know how to word it. but that's referring to, right, that's part of the structure. Basically, it like has like empty space kind of so that the wind can pass through, and it's one of the ways that allows it to like stabilize or whatever. It's very cool.
Yeah, it's meant to blend in with its surrounding areas, and so like the waviness of the glass and the color is supposed to kind of take your eyes up from the river through the tower and sort of back down without you feeling like the contrast. It's
so reflective. I'd love to paint it. Actually, I think I feel like it would be really fun to paint. Yeah, one of my favorites. Our next tallest building is the Aon Center, which only became the Aon in 1998. It debuted in 1973 as the Standard Oil Building. Jacoby, can you tell me what was another nickname for this building?
Ooh, that's a toughie. I do not know. That's a good one.
So, like I said, when it first debuted, it was the Standard Oil Company. And then it had the nickname Big Stan for a while. Another interesting fact about the Aon Center is in the 90s, the marble replacement. The building had white marble that was damaged by Chicago winters, right? Chicago winters are really tough. And so it had to be replaced, and it was replaced with granite. Although a lot of people think the granite is not as pretty, how do you get much prettier than marble? I truly don't know.
It took almost 3 years and about $80 million to redo. But I mean, you can't have slabs of marble cracking, falling down it, knocking people upside the head.
Here's the last one. Last one's going to be really easy. This is about 875 North Michigan Avenue, aka the John Hancock Center. Yes. Yeah, I'm going to make this super easy. What did there's going to be an observation deck set to open next year at the near the top of the building. But what was the 95th floor restaurant? What did it used to be called that used to be there?
Hey. I'm glad you asked me this because every time I think about it, I have this great memory of when my friend Brooke was living here for grad school and my homie Chris was visiting, who has now since moved back. And we went up there and we were all hanging out. The waitress comes, asks what he wants, and he just goes, I want a Long Island, all top shelf. And she goes and she gets it and she brings it back and he drinks it and he says, I thought this was supposed to be the signature room. This ain't top shelf. And since the moment he said that, we just died laughing. And every time I see him, I just remind him of that. Because every time we go out, anything he orders, he just like top shelf. And so the signature room.
Signature room. That's it. Yeah. Signature room closed, but will become an observation deck next year. But yes, the famous X's serve, obviously they're like pretty cool looking, but also they structurally support the building, and it was
keep that building up.
Kind of an innovation when they were debuted in the 1960s. So that's it. Those are some of the tallest buildings in Chicago.
I think the Hancock 875, whatever, is one of Chicago's skyscrapers that really gets more beautiful as you get close to it. I'd argue the Sears Tower is probably its prettiest when you're away.
Hard agree.
When you get up on it, because of the black box modernism of it, it looks like so many other buildings downtown beyond the fact that it's, 110 stories.
Well, and not just that, it actually doesn't look unique compared to other buildings in other cities. Now, again, I know they all copied us. I get it. I get it.
Everybody, please join me in thanking our fantastic executive producer, Simone Alisea.
Hey, thanks, Jacoby.
Before we get out of here, some good news. This week, the National Museum of Mexican Art's Dia de Muertos, a celebration of remembrance exhibition, opens. You can check out their immersive installation in the courtyard, all of the original artwork, or also participate in their community offerenda. I'll drop a link for you in the show notes, and this runs through December. As always, we appreciate you for listening and reading. We're going to be back bright and early tomorrow. We'll talk to you then. Peace.
That is it's comically large, Jacoby. That's how much water does that thing hold?
A gallon.
Do you drink one of those every day?
I try my best.
That's so big.
Yeah, it is.